Okay, good morning. My name is Adam Hawkins. I'm representing Group 9, which is Adam Hawkins and Braden Horde. This week we are doing Chapter 7, which is how to design our organization's architecture with Conway's Law in mind. This comes from the DevOps Handbook, how to create world-class agility, reliability, and security in technology organizations. So first off, what is Conway's Law? So Conway's Law states that the organization which designs systems are constrained to produce designs which are copies of the communication structures of these organizations. The larger an organization is, the less flexible it has, and the more pronounced the phenomenon is. So law comes from a 1968 experiment with Dr. Melvin Conway, in which he had commissioned 8 people to produce a product. And he broke the team up into a group of 5 and a group of 3. So with the group of 5 that were assigned, the result was that they ran in 5 phases. With the group of 3, it ran in 3. So this is where the law kind of became known, and became into existence. And so the book goes on to break it up into 3 different types of organizations, which help to further explain the law. So there's functional-oriented organizations, matrix-oriented, or market. So the functional is you optimize for the business, basically. Everything's based around the cost, the division of labor, and we'll get a little more into some of the downfalls of that one. There's a matrix which combine the two, so we'll go into market, which is optimized for responding quickly to customer needs. And the problem being is that it can be very expensive, but again, we'll get into that. And the matrix is an attempt to combine the two together. So when we look at it, to achieve DevOps-friendly outcomes, one critical step is to stop optimizing for cost and start optimizing for speed. And I think this is one of the hardest things that companies have to deal with. I know we deal with a lot in our own company, but when you optimize for speed, you get more out to the customer, and in turn, you get more customers, and so the profits can go up. The hard part is when you start optimizing for cost, the output to the customer can slow down, and then you have all sorts of problems you run into. And so you optimize for speed, we can have many small teams working on their own sole purpose of delivering more value to the customers. So I think if I could sum up the whole chapter with one paragraph, it would be this one that Braden put together. If you optimize for speed, you can have many small teams working with their own sole purpose of delivering more value to the customer, which I think is just awesome. All right, so when we leverage the functional orientation, as opposed to having just a market-oriented team, it's also possible to have a hybrid system called a functional organization. So one of the sections of the chapter talks a lot about this. As long as service teams get what they need from ops reliably and quickly, they can deliver fast customer value and provide feedback on many issues. But it does create a high trust culture because you have a lot of handoffs, a lot of going back and forth. So it's there, but there is some downfalls to it. So one of the things that it talks about in the book is to avoid siloization. Basically what happens in a company, you have all these different huge departments, and there are all these silos standing alone. But the problem being is that they can have problems with communications, with handoffs. And so the book talks about how everything should be everyone's job. Everyone is a generalist. And so really it works if you have a smaller teams. We provide opportunities to learn, necessary to build and run the systems, regularly rotate people through different roles, which I thought was really cool. So everybody has a chance to work on the different ones and then familiar with the entire application stack, which I think would make a big difference in a company, especially when you're building a software product. Everybody on the team has access to every portion of it. You know what everybody's doing. And so the book had this graphic where you talk about the different types of shapes. So there's I-shaped, T-shaped, and then E-shaped. And really the T-shape is what we focus on here, but there is a generalist, can have deep expertise in one area, broad skills across many areas, can step up to remove bottlenecks, sensitive to downstream waste and impact, helps make planning flexible, and absorbs variety. And then it goes through some of the different ones. We won't read all of them because you can obviously see the graphic there, but there's just different, but basically in a corporation, in a company, you want to avoid the siloization, and everybody needs to be that generalist so they understand everybody else's job, how to do it, and how to help the company move forward. So the next section of the chapter we went through was creating loosely for developers. And I think one of the biggest takeaway I got from this one is that small changes can result in large scale failures. So you can see in the background just the giant subway system that had crashed and all the people standing around and walking away. It talks about avoiding tightly coupled architecture, but the key is there's coordination to avoid these large scales. You're integrating the changes and the systems are all interconnected. And so you constantly have the ability to work together. The changes that you're making are integrated with other things so you don't crash the entire system. And so you avoid making those large scale failures. And then talks about being loosely coupled, which means you can update your services independently and you can focus on smaller teams, which is just a better way to go. Talking about Conway's Law again, smaller teams is the way to be. So and going into that, there is what the book calls the 2 pizza team rule, which I thought was pretty cool. So basically the rule is that if you can't feed the entire team of the meeting with just 2 pizzas, there are too many people in the room and you have too many people on a team. So by keeping the team small, you can ensure a clear shared understanding of the system. You limit the rate at which the system can evolve, which you would think would be a downfall. But again, to go back to that last slide, you want to make sure you avoid those catastrophic failures that can come. You decentralize power and enables autonomy, which is always great. Anytime you get more people involved, more growth can happen, more ideas, and then others can gain leadership. I just think it's interesting how you can have so many different people in a room and so many different opinions, and still it's just too many. You need to kind of limit it down. So in conclusion, again, if you look at Conway's Law, the system is going to match the organization. So build your organization around what you want your system to look like. Keep your group small. So you want to enable those market-oriented teams. Give people the opportunity to get what's out to the company, out to the consumer, but so not necessarily focusing on the cost, but focus on what's best for the consumer, and you'll have more opportunities to get more customers. Everything is everybody's job. Everyone should learn everybody's system, learn how it works, how things work. Create for the developers, avoid those large-scale catastrophic failures, and organize in combating what can combat Conway's Law. So if you want to have a very complex system, then have a very complex organization. If you want to have a very basic system that functions well, you get updates out quickly to the consumer, then keep your organization that simple. Thank you so much for your time.